Yep, Curtis Samuel's first, and then Jones.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good Curtis Samuel interview. I watched it on YouTube, you and Mookie and them. That was good.
You already know, man. It's Deion Dawkins, and you listening to the Real Deal Sports Show on the Beat 105.5.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, and welcome to Real Deal Sports Show. We're coming live from the Rock Palm Broker Studios each week, as we do here with the Real Deal Sports Show. The Red Man, J-GILLZ. We're here each week talking sports of all sorts for the next hour. And J-GILLZ, let's get right into it. And also, first of all, we salute the Buffalo 10. You'll never be forgotten for that dastardly act that took place in Buffalo, New York at the Top Supermarket, May 14th, 2022. We dedicate the show each week to the Buffalo 10. J-GILLZ, the free agency frenzy going on in the National Football League. What's your favorite one so far?
Oh, man, fresh off the pressers, right, man. It's been a phenomenal free agency. I can't complain. I'm talking about NFC, AFC, everywhere in the NFL right now. Teams are getting better and better. The running backs have surprised me immensely, not to mention these quarterback moves, from Kirk Cousins getting $150 guaranteed $1 million to Russell Wilson getting a mere $1 million. The moves have been great. But I've had my eye on a couple teams. But to me, I think the biggest move of free agency thus far to put a contender right over to that next level, I would say Saquon Barkley to the Philadelphia Eagles. Just putting him in that offense with Lane Johnson, with that kind of offensive line, who we have never seen him with this kind of offensive line before. The same offensive line that helped a guy like DeAndre Swift amass 1,000 yards on the season. So I think you put him with an A.J. Brown, with a Jalen Hurts, obviously, not to mention Kellen Moore calling the plays. I think that's going to be a very, very explosive Philadelphia Eagles offense, and I'm very excited to see what they have in store for a guy like Saquon.
Oh, definitely. I think so. And with Jalen Hurts and his mobility, and look what he did with Daniel Jones, just in that one season when Daniel Jones was playing decent that year and being able to move around and run as well. And with Jalen Hurts back there, that's a very dynamic duo there in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, I tell you, they always seem to upgrade their teams. It's rare that they're totally just losing tons of players. Even they have retirements with Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, one of my all-time favorite cats. I think when Deion Dawkins hit him at that game in Philly, I think when he said, "Man, it's time to retire, man. I'm tired of taking this punishment." But Fletcher Cox, man, great player, great man off the field as well. Won that Super Bowl with the Eagles over the Patriots back in 2017, 2018. Great career, so definitely future Hall of Famer. What the signings that really surprised me, my favorite one is Russell Wilson. He finally realizing he needs to be under structure. He needs to be under a team that has structure, that telling him what to do, where he needs to do, where he needs to be, what he has to do. And he even kind of alluded to it during the press conference yesterday, talking about Pittsburgh. As soon as you walk in the building, this serious business where you see the 5 trophies, Super Bowl trophies there in the showcase. And it's all business there. He even mentioned it's almost like an all business. And he also mentioned that he was in the weight room earlier in the day before the press conference working out there in Pittsburgh already. So I think he understands. And I think it's better for him to be under a situation where there's a strict guidance and it's serious. It's no nonsense whatsoever. And I think you may see the best of Russell Wilson with a running game. He has some decent wide receivers, a good tight end. I think he's ready to bounce back and have a good season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was my favorite pick. And one I looked at, I had to scratch my head about last night, was the most recent one, the New York Jets, Tyron Smith. Could be good. He could be a future Hall of Famer. I don't think so due to his injuries. He's a excellent offensive lineman. Is he great? He could be great. To me, Tyron Smith is close to. He would be great if he could stay on the field. but the guy has too many injuries. He's like an automobile with 200 miles on it, man. He got 200,000, over 200,000 miles on the car, between 150,000 and 200,000 miles on the vehicle, man. That's what Tyron Smith equates to me in football years. He just can't stay on the field. I would have him maybe as a coach, but maybe not as on the field. In the 17 games, J-GILLZ, you think he can play half of those games?
Well, just to your first point, going on to Russell Wilson, the most surprising thing out of that whole situation to me, when you talk about a guy like Kenny Pickett, who I thought that they were bringing in Russ to compete on that level. They let Mason Rudolph go. They did not re-sign him in free agency. So you bring a guy like a Russell Wilson to compete with a guy like Kenny Pickett. But, we just learned a lot about Kenny Pickett right there, not willing to compete, not willing to even go through the camp, being the guy there that just tells you who he was in the locker room. That the guys didn't have the buy-in for him immediately. You know what I mean? He asked for a trade immediately as soon as the contract got signed. So, I think that told us a lot about that. That was my biggest surprise of that whole situation. Happy for Russell Wilson. Very surprised Kenny Pickett asked for a trade and got traded so fast. And now he'll be a Philadelphia Eagle as well, backing up Jalen Hurts. But I was very surprised as well with the Tyron Smith move for the New York Jets. To me, it's kind of like Joe Douglas and those guys. They just can't get it right when it comes to the offensive line. It's similar to the New York Giants. Something about those New York teams. MetLife just can't get it right with the offensive line. You got a guy like Morgan Moses, who they just traded for at right tackle. Now you're just added Tyron Smith at left tackle. These tackles are old. Let's just say it like that. This is still one of the oldest offensive lines in the NFL. And now you're asking them to protect a guy like Aaron Rodgers, another old, maybe not as mobile after the Achilles injury quarterback. I just don't see the moves that was made. But the Jets do have a top 10 pick, so hopefully they can add to that offensive line in some way. Maybe Tyron can be a swing tackle. I'm not sure the contract. I'm not sure how much they paid him. So he might be the left tackle of the future, but there's still guys like Joe Alt. Maybe they could trade up and get that projected number one. He's the best tackle in the draft. There's some options there that they could do. So I'm definitely looking at the Jets to possibly bolster that offensive line with some moves in the draft, because right now it is just not cutting it.
No, it's not cutting it at all. And Bakari, I hope they don't bring Bakari in from Green Bay. He's another injury-prone cat. Good player, but too many injuries. They're wear and tear on the body. He really needs to retire. Him and Tyron Smith both, I thought, would have been announcing their retirements. Not Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald was the last guy I thought would be announcing their retirement. But obviously, he was thinking about retiring right after they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he was dancing with it for a couple of years now.
Yeah, because right there in SoFi Stadium, they were saying, man, he's talking about retiring. That was some of the hottest news going on after the game during the post-game interview there in SoFi Stadium after that Super Bowl win by the LA Rams, that he may be retiring. I was like, wow, at least he's going out on top. Exactly. And he didn't suffer a lot of injuries. He's doing what, 32 years old, retiring. Hey, good. Congratulations, Aaron Donald.
10 straight Pro Bowls. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl champion, the most dominant player in this era, offense and defense. So Aaron Donald's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. A lot of Rams fans right now crying right now. A lot of Rams fans. I done talked to a couple. Rick Toney, one of them. You know what I mean? They're in limbo right now. But you got to give him credit where it's due. Mad respect to Aaron Donald, the real AD, I call him.
Yeah, he knows when to say when. Knows when to say when for sure. Congratulations on an illustrious career, and definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. It would be surprising if he doesn't get in on that first ballot, which will be in about 5 years down the road. So congratulations for him. Also, the Bills. The Bills did some moves this week. One of the better moves I like is Curtis Samuels. He's a yak guy, yards after catch, and I think Josh Allen can get him the ball, as well as Khalil Shakir, who really came out. If Khalil Shakir comes back and plays like he played the second half of this season, I think that you'll see the Bills being able to have a good offense. And Stephon Diggs, Kincaid at tight end. We're going to go to a sound clip that we had. I had a brief sound bite from Curtis Samuels from his press conference yesterday in Buffalo. BacSpin, can you play that sound bite of Curtis Samuels? From your career, what was it about working with Joe Brady where you looked like you put up your best numbers when he was the offensive coordinator there in Washington? What was it about working with him that got you those numbers, that helped you achieve those numbers?
I really just trusting in him, to put me in the right spots, the right location to be the best playmaker I could possibly be on the field. And I feel like he did a great job at that.
Do you consider yourself more a slot receiver or a wide receiver, or you come out of the backfield as well? Are you a multi-dimensional type player?
I don't really put myself in one role. I'm grateful that I'm able to do so much, and I feel like that helps the team out a lot.
Okay, and last one there. I know Mookie touched on it a little bit. What was it that separated Buffalo from some of the other teams that you possibly were looking at?
Yeah, like I said, just watching them from the outside in. You just see how everybody conduct themselves. They're winning. It's a winning organization. I just was excited. The fan base was insane. I've been a lot of other places. I'm always forever grateful for every stop that I took along my journey. I wouldn't be who I am today without all those people and all the support that I get. But I'll definitely be, excited to play in front of these fans.
And last but not least, what is it about Ohio State receivers? You guys seem to be able to become a really good NFL player. You guys succeed in the NFL very well. What is it about that?
I just really feel like, from the day we walk in the door, we told straight what it is. Nobody's getting baby. We got to go in the building and we got to get our work done. Hard nosed. That's all we know.
All right. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you at training camp.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. That was the former Washington Commanders wide receiver, now Buffalo Bills wide receiver, Curtis Samuels, an Ohio State player. I tell you, it is something about those Ohio State players, man. You take them and LSU, and those two schools dominate the National Football League with quality receivers. He's been, of course, I noticed he started in Carolina, so right. Brandon Beane knew something about him from his Carolina days. So.
And McDermott, absolutely. Playing with Cam Newton. And, when you look at the moves that the Bills have made, a lot of key losses this year. Obviously, a lot of pillar stones lost. Obviously, y'all can check out my article on that at the Buffalo Criterion. And, of course, Zeal talk Upstate. But when you talk about the additions, the key additions, you know what I mean? You got a guy like Curtis Samuel, who can run a 4.3, who can blow the top off. And then you pick up a guy like Mac Hollins, the 6'4" big body target that the Bills have been missing for so long. So now you're really going into this draft, can really be BPA, best player available. And whether it's the offensive line, whether you want to continue that receiver room and get one of these great receivers that's going to be available, whether you want to go defensive line. There's so many options now that you can go. But I really do love the additions. You got some great veterans, guys who've had success in the league, guys who've been in the league 7-8 years, who understand the system. And then, as y'all touched on in the interview, Curtis Samuels has also had an opportunity to work with Joe Brady, offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. So his familiarity with the Bills organization makes him almost a seamless fit at the receiver position. Put him right there in the slot. I think it's going to be really great for Josh Allen to have these kind of targets. Definitely going to still need a running back, though. I'm looking at this running back depth. You lost Latavius Murray. You lost Damian Harris. Some of these guys. Maybe I think a guy like Big Zeke, man. Big Zeke would be a great complementary back to James Cook, possibly a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, physical runner, help you in the goal line situations. And I think that'll be a great addition. But when you look at what the moves have been made with Brandon Beane, you got to give him his credit getting these quality veterans for a low cost.
Absolutely, and that's what Brandon Beane seems to be really good at. He's really good at finding these quality ball players at a reasonable price, at a reasonable rate. It's just that early in the draft, the first 2-3 rounds is a little suspect, but when he gets to that 4th round to the 7th round, man, he just seems to be really good at finding the diamond in the rough. And also bringing in guys, a lot of what some people, if you're not a football fan, a lot of no-name players that are really guys that fit the system. And I think Curtis Samuels is a perfect fit for this system that the Bills are trying to run on offense. Had his best year under Joe Brady in 2020 with the Washington Commanders. So that'll be interesting to see.
Only 27 years old.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought this guy was in his 30s. I thought he was maybe 30, 31 or something. Yeah, he's only 27. So that was another thing that stood out on his stats and his bio information. I thought Samuels was a little bit older than 27. So yeah, he definitely has some good years left in him. And if you just the only thing with the only question mark. I go back to Kincaid. It was the number 1 pick last year. He had 75 receptions last year, and you turn around. But beforehand, you turn around and paid Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox in the last 2 years has had 73 receptions for 2 years. Why would you?
We can't talk about we can't talk about the Dawson Knox pay. We got to give them credit. They were able to restructure that contract, right, man? They was able to restructure, open up a little cap space. You know what I mean? And I think that you got to give Green credit as well, because that was a great first round pick in Dalton Kincaid. He could definitely be the second piece to that offense. And then a guy like Osiris Torrance, another second round pick, I believe in the same draft.
Yes,
phenomenal guy. Started the whole season. Clearly going to be a cornerstone and pillar for that offensive line for years to come, especially with guys like Mitch Morse and them leaving.
Absolutely. And now moving McGovern to center, and then you're going to bring in David Edwards over at the other guard, but to move into the guard position next to Spencer Brown. Not next to Spencer, next to Deion Dawkins. As you just said, Osiris Torrance was a very good pickup for him to come in. And Osiris has definitely had a breakout rookie season. The moves they made, and I must admit, I got some people, the fanatic, always, can I say anything nice about the Bills? Yeah, I can say some nice things about the Bills, but also you got to think about it. The draft picks and the moves that Brandon Beane has made, actually, they worked. The Bills were 13 seconds away from moving to the championship game, and it was a coaching blunder that cost them. It's been more on-field coaching decisions that have cost the Buffalo Bills a chance at playing for the Super Bowl or even going to the Super Bowl. I still say that 13-second game when you had Kansas City on the ropes, 13 seconds left, and you let Kansas City come back and tie it up within 13 seconds. That really made KC, and now they've gone on to win. Now they won 2 Super Bowls in a row. They won 3 together. You could have stopped that streak. Yes, J-GILLZ.
This is why we're on Kansas City, right, man? We got to give Kansas City credit. We're talking about free agency and the free agent move to add a guy like Hollywood Brown to that offense.
Yes.
Man, what explosion that they're adding to that offense. You got guys now that can blow the top off that they so desperately need in Andy Reid's system. You still got your guy, Travis Kelce, in the middle. Just phenomenal moves, and I think we got to give them credit. It's another team that we're going to have to look at and say, Kansas City Chiefs still right there. They're not knocking at the door. They at the door. And who they going to let in? Somebody going to have to kick down that door up until somebody else kick it down. That's their door.
They re-signed Nundy, their 27-year-old pass rusher that tore his bicep in the playoff game against the Dolphins. They re-signed him. Cranko, yeah. I thought he would get re-signed. I mean, they brought him back. And they also, of course, signed Chris Jones to the massive contract. He's very deserving, Chris Jones, of that big-time contract. So the Chiefs are going to, you got to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They're the team that's the nemesis of everybody in the AFC. I thought the Henry move to the Ravens also was a good move, but still, can the Ravens pass the ball effectively? Can Lamar Jackson get the ball downfield in the playoffs? I'm not talking about regular season. He does a great job during the regular season. It seems to be something in the playoffs that happens with the Ravens, and especially Lamar Jackson in his passing game in playoff games. He got to step his game up in the playoffs. And with Derrick Henry there, you got overdrive in the rushing game. You already had a good rushing game. Gus Edwards goes to the Chargers to help them out, but it's going to be interesting to see Derrick Henry in those moves there as well.
Right, I love the Derrick Henry move. However, the Baltimore Ravens aren't going to be anything unless they can get something on the outside, similar to the Buffalo Bills in that offense. Needing that speed guy, needing that big target. I'm hearing rumors of a Michael Thomas. I would love, if the Ravens did go receiver in the draft. Not sure if they'll do that after last year's first round pick. You're not going to go receiver back to back. But I love the pick that they had last year. Zay Flowers is going to be a great player in this league. But I've heard rumors that possibly Deebo Samuel could be a target that they're looking at. But they're definitely going to need some sort of player on the outside for Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry alone is just not going to be able to get it done. Sorry, Ravens fans.
That's right. And before we go to our next guest, we got to talk about award-winning Marion Rivera Insurance Agency, Auto, Home, Health, and Life Insurance, 1038 Lyle Avenue or 511 Bean Road, Suite B. Give her a call, area code 360-0094. Thank you, listeners who have been calling her. She has been getting calls, and she's been helping a lot of y'all out. So, hey, thank you very much for following the smart advice from the Real Deal Sports Show. Go with it. If you want to go with an insurance agent, go with an award-winning insurance agent, someone that's picking up the awards, someone that's doing big-time commercial business, home life. Hey, she can get the job done for you. Miriam Rivera Insurance Agency. Once again, auto, home, health, and life insurance, 1038 Lyle Avenue, 511 Bean Road, Suite B. Give her a call, area code 585-360-0094. Give her a call, and we're ready to go next. Next, we're about to go to Houston, Texas. And we're going to find out what's going on with some of those moves going on down there in Houston. We want to thank AD. Thank you so much on Central Standard Time for coming on Real Deal Sports Show. Good morning to you, AD.
Oh, yeah, my bad. That Aaron Donald, not the real AD. This the real AD. This the real AD right here. He got the real AD.
Hey, I appreciate that. Good morning, gentlemen. How are y'all? How's Western New York? How's everybody doing up there, man?
Nice.
Everything's great, man. Wait a minute. Last time I saw y'all, let's see, it was in Vegas. Y'all did get out of Vegas, right? I just want to make sure. Let everybody know y'all did get out of Vegas. You all made it out of Vegas.
Finally, we did return from Las Vegas, Nevada. Finally.
Yeah. Hey, man, look, let me tell you something. To tell you that, am I a little bit surprised about some of the moves that the Texans have made? Yeah, because here's the bottom line. 3/4 of that starting defensive line no longer exists in Houston, Texas, period. It's gone. Both of the starting defensive tackles, Jonathan Nard is in Minnesota right now, Brian Cashman. But I think that they've added some pieces back, I've almost had to get a scorecard, man, the way this thing was going, because everything was popping off. We sort of thought, man, was looking at Eric Armstead maybe coming over from the 49ers. That deal fell through. Coach Malik Collins still went to the 49ers. But, you got Darnell Hunter coming over from the Vikings to replace, Bernard, Dennis Autry from the Titans, Joe Mixon to replace Devin Singletary, and, Dalton Schultz resigned, Tim Settles, and Radman, I sort of, soon as that one happened, I was like, wait a minute, because that was a Friday afternoon, and I'm sort of sworn to secrecy about where I was Friday afternoon, but eventually it will come out. Coach, just keep watching, my social media posts. But anyway, the Tim Settles deal, I was sort of going like, okay, they started, the Texans going back and started to replenish the particularly their defensive line, the defensive tackle position, because both, like as I stated, both of the defensive tackles are gone. Sheldon Rankins gone. I mean, it's am I overly surprised? Only on a couple of them. We even got rid of the punter.
Really?
We have Kansas. We've signed the punter from the Kansas City Chiefs, the two-time the defending Super Bowl champion, back-to-back Super Bowl champion. We don't pull that punter in because Cam Johnson is gone. So it's been like a smorgasbord thing just happening around here, man. But personally, I think that the Texans will be looking at a defense. Not one, if not two defensive tackles in the draft. Now, they just traded the 23rd pick. I think 23rd pick in the draft to the Vikings. So they're not even players in the first round as of today. As of this morning, they aren't players. That's not to say that they will not be back in the first round, because between Nick Caserio and what the Texans are doing, and the fact that you have C.J. Stroud on a rookie contract, here's the time to just sort of put everything around him. Hopefully Tank Dell is, from what I'm understanding, he's healing well and he's ready to come back. So as it stands right now, gentlemen, the Texans are going to be part of the play, the playoff situation as I see it right now. The draft is going to be a different situation.
Well,
AD,
Go ahead, J-GILLZ.
I just want to know if this is a missed opportunity. You know, I look at a team like the Texans. I hear the defensive line woes. You know what I mean? Losing some key players. You guys went into the offseason about top 5 in cap space. You know, a lot of money to spend. Didn't really spend it all, but did you guys look at a guy like Christian Wilkins as a missed opportunity? We all know Christian Wilkins got the bag, $87 million guaranteed over a 5-year span, over $100 million contract in total value. I thought for sure a guy like a team like the Houston Texans would take a guy like a Christian Wilkins, who ended up going to the Raiders.
Here's the deal. The Texans had value. They weren't going to overpay. Yeah, they had cap space. But Nick Caserio's not. They're looking at a certain dynamic player that's going to fit, i.e., locker room. Will they fit? Is that the D'Amico Ryans type player? Bottom line, this is still about the Lajon, man.
Yes,
and they got guys slotted at a certain point. I'm not surprised about Jonathan Grenard not coming back. I'm not, because he got $49 million guaranteed signing money, along with that $87 million contract. So I'm not overly surprised. Am I surprised about Devin Singletary being gone? Yeah. But you know what? We made it. We swapped him out. We swapped him out with Joe Mixon. So let's face it, guys. There's been some nice exchange pieces in here. The Darnell Hunter deal. That he will fall into that spot as far as where Bernard was, as far as the opposite end of Will Anderson. So yeah, the deal right now, I'm still looking at the defensive tackles, and I think because during the course of the year, that's probably was still, I think, a sore spot, or probably one of the weaker spots, because some teams were able to run on us, or run on the Texans rather. And I think right up the middle there, when things got a little tenuous, I think that's what they really trying to really just show up, is that inside those 2-3 techniques. So since both of them gone, it's still a lot on the table there. Also they got Zeal. He's came in as a linebacker. So that the pieces are in place now. How they fit into this situation? Hey man, let's face it. When that clock struck 0 at M&T Bank Stadium against the Baltimore Ravens, the 2023 Houston Texans, as we knew it then, was history. Because just as well as what's going on in Buffalo and everywhere else, at least 25% of that roster is going to be turned over. The Texans had 30 free agents. A lot of those guys were on 1-year contract. So I expected some changes. Are these changes? Now, I'm a little bit shocked at some of the changes that have transpired, but is it for the better? And like everybody else, this is sort of like this is J-GILLZ. This is like like your new daughter, your new child. All of a sudden, this is Christmas time again in the NFL. Everybody's looking to add pieces. And
it's also AD or J-GILLZ. It's the era of the 1-year deal. Ever since the Atlanta Falcons made the Super Bowl with 24 players on 1-year deals, I noticed that trend has really picked up heavily after the Atlanta Falcons were the first team to do that. They made that Super Bowl. They ended up losing it. They should have beat the New England Patriots, but that's a whole nother story. But they made it with 24 guys on 1-year deals. They had a lot of rookies on that team, a lot of young. That was a very young squad. And you see these teams continuing to do this type of moves. But one thing for you, AD, when you see Tim Settle, ask him, has he been to the cleaners to get those cleat marks off his jersey from Isaiah Pacheco running him over time and time again in that game against his last game with the Buffalo Bills, man. That was a disgraceful disrespect there by Isaiah.
Let's put it like, hey guys, let's put it like this. The Kansas City Chiefs disrespected a lot of folks, especially after they left Arrowhead after that first game. They disrespected a lot of people, but you know what? They were holding the trophy at the end of the day in Arizona. So, there's been a lot of disrespect there.
Arizona and Vegas. You forgot you've been to Vegas, AD. Yeah, we've been to both.
Did I say Arizona, Vegas?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah, you were right next to me when they were holding up the trophy there in that big tent there with the interview sessions. But the Devin Singletary, I thought he had a really good season. And I was really shocked that they didn't re-sign him right away Because to me, Joe Mixon is he's a more physical runner, but they're kind of in the same. To me, it's not an upgrade. It's like staying the same almost.
Well, you know what? I think when we're talking about 1 or 2 years difference in ages, I think also the fact that it's, again, I'm going back to that the Texans had put a dollar factor on everything that's on the board right now as far from a free agency standpoint of what they wanted to do. No, I'm not privy. Me and Nick are not that tight, so I'm not really sure, but it's quite apparent and quite evident that they weren't going to get into this overpaying for certain players. They had a value what they were going to put on certain players, and I think they're sticking to the game plan. So Joe Mixon, a tough inside runner. Again, also a decent pass receiver coming out the backfield as well. So I think that was, to me, far as I'm concerned, it was a decent swap between Mixon and Devin Singletary. But you know what? Those guys came here, took their 1-year deal, and I think for the most part, hey guys, like we all know, I mean, you're only in this league for so many years, and it's time to get paid. I don't care whether you won a championship or not. These guys trying to get paid and trying to get their money, and so I mean, good for them. That's the way I'm looking at it. Good for them.
Exactly. You're definitely happy for the young man. And around the league, what do you think was was the biggest signing that surprised you, or you feel was the best signing so far?
That's a good question, George. Because was it? And the thing about it, I think right now, I would like to say but the best signing probably what Kansas City done, man. Because I'm Kansas City basically with all the drop passes and everything they've had last year with their wide receivers. I think what they did was the signing of Hollywood Brown from the Cardinals, man, and going back and giving them a receiver that can take the top off the defense. And I think basically what they've done, I think they sent a clear message to the rest of the league. We coming back for the 3-peat. I think that to me that tells them they coming back for the 3-peat. The Chris Jones signing, I think that was apparent. They had to go back and sign Chris Jones because Chris Jones basically did an Aaron Donald, and he was sort of the Aaron Donald of this Super Bowl. What Aaron Donald was against the Cincinnati Bengals in Super Bowl 51 out there in SoFi Stadium. Because remember, it was Aaron Donald at the end of the game that made his presence well known and really sort of helped solidify that victory for the Los Angeles Rams. So I think the Chris Jones signing was a given, and I think they had to get it done, man. So that would probably be my pick, that the Brown signing, and it's a few other things. But you know what? At this point right now, it's all still speculation, because the thing about it, how do these guys fit into that situation? How do they fit into the locker room? And
now, speaking of that, how do you feel about Russell Wilson signing with the Steelers?
I think it's going to help him.
Yeah, I agree.
I think at the end of the day, I think Russell will probably this will be the ideal spot. And I think Mike Tomlin probably got to do a little, I don't know this personally. I think Mike Tomlin might have to do some, sort of do some ego, might have to just boost some guys' ego, not necessarily ego, but boost his character a little bit. Because I think Sean Payton did his damnedest, man, to try to tear Russell Wilson down and make him the object of everything that was wrong in Denver. And although at the end of the day, I think a lot of that has to go back and look at Sean Payton, because in his arrogance and his way, he wanted to try to come in there and coach and try to determine, I'm the bigger piece here. No, you're not. It's the guys on the field with a bigger piece. And I think, Sean Payton probably got his comeuppance. So we'll see. I think
I agree with you. Sean Payton wanted a drop back passer, a pocket passer, and that's not what Russell Wilson is. That's not his forte. That's not his skill set. And
No.
then he's eating up a large portion, a quarter of the salary cap too. And he doesn't like a guy like he doesn't like a guy like that. He wants a guy in that pocket doing his plays, running that semi West Coast offense type plays. And it wasn't his type of quarterback. It wasn't his cup of tea per se. But like you said, for him just to try to tear him down ever since he arrived there, and then in the last get on the field, you shouting at him and hurling insults at him on the field and everything. Come on, man. This showed you. It shows you. Hey, Sean Payton, when he was winning, everything was cool. But now when he's in a losing situation and a rebuild, he don't have Drew Brees. He don't have all those guys, the Michael Thomases and all those guys that he had in New Orleans when they went to that Super Bowl year. Hey, man, now you see the other side of it. He's not so great a coach when you don't have all the pieces, when you don't have the pieces together.
So the question becomes now: Does Russell Wilson give the Steelers the advantage against that tough, in that particular division? What does he do? Because he's got to go in against Lamar Jackson, and the Bengals. I mean, does this give the Steelers an actual fighting chance? Because I think that's been their weakest point right there, is the fact that they've been weak at the quarterback position, man.
They've been very weak at the quarterback position, but I also think he's the type of person in quarterback that needs structure. He needs somebody really helping him, and I think with the Steelers, like you even mentioned, when you walk in that door and see those the showcase with all the Super Bowl trophies in the showcase and the demeanor in the building, he said you can see this is a winning organization and they do things their way. So I think he's going to conform to their way of doing business. You can't allow him, like Denver allowed him to do what he wanted to do, but that's not him. He was under a structured situation in Seattle. Seattle defense was the dominating force, and he did certain things on offense to score, keep the ball control and things of that nature. And I think now he's back to something similar to Seattle in Pittsburgh, a ball control team.
Ball control with a running game, game and a defense, and definitely a defense to go along with it. So the thing about it, they're not expecting Russell Wilson to be the savior. Just come in there, run the offense. And then when you need to make an unscripted play, I think Russell still is capable of making those unscripted plays, but he's got enough around him now that I think is almost Russell Bacon feel like he might be back in Seattle in a different scheme and everything. So it's to be seen, George.
Exactly, it's definitely to be seen. And we'll also see what else is taking place. And I want to thank you for coming on the show to let us know about what's going on with the Houston Texans. And they're like Buffalo, a lot of teams. They cleaning house. They're on the rise, but they got rid of a lot of those guys that already helped them get to this level, but they want to get to the next level. And so they see that they got to bring in more players, different guys in to help them achieve what the Houston Texans are trying to achieve, not only becoming division champions, but winning playoff games and making it to the Super Bowl. So it just shows you, in this era, change is good. It's not to be frowned upon. You got to make changes. And hey, you make sure Tim Sellers get to that clean. Tim Sellers Jr., I should say, get to that cleaners. Okay?
I will introduce myself to him, and I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to just seeing what this new mix and how this new mix is going to work. I think here's the deal right now. How does the Texans mature and matriculate from year one to year two? How does CJ Stroud? Am I looking for CJ Stroud to duplicate what he done his first year? No. But what I am looking for him to do is to be able to, you don't necessarily, if he can still stick with just 5 interceptions, fine. Does he have to throw 40 or some touchdown pass? I don't think so. I think as long as he see his development and the players' development around him in this particular offense, because let's face it, here's the deal, George. They only had one offensive lineman that started the whole season for the Houston Texans.
Well,
so even though you still got the All-Pro in Laramie Tunsil, that's them. But Shaq Mason was the only one that was at the start of the season, and he finished the season. Nobody
Wow.
else went with all the whole season. So that's, to me, I think they definitely got to be some solidification to the offensive line.
And you still made the playoffs with that type of situation. That
Yeah.
bodes well for your unit, AD. And we look forward to having you back when we get to the draft, most likely in a few weeks. That's coming up quickly as well. Check out AD at the AD_Max64 at Max Corner at the HR Review.
Yeah, it's AdMax Corner on YouTube. At AdMax Corner on Instagram, and at the Houston Roundball Review. George, appreciate it, man. Hey, man, thanks again, man. And I'm glad y'all made it out of Vegas, man.
Same here, man. Same here. Yes, indeed. Thank you for reminding us, man. We made it out of there. Hey, you have yourself a great week.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks, guys. Hey, thank you for everyone. Appreciate the opportunity as always, man. Thank you again.
Alrighty. And our next segment of the show is sponsored by Deal or No Deal at Rock Pawnbrokers, 559 State Street. Stop on through. Deal or No Deal at Rock Pawnbrokers. Check them out. Our next guest is from the Democrat Chronicle newspaper. Marquel Slaughter, welcome back to Real Deal Sports Show. How you doing this morning?
How's it going, George? How are you, man?
Great, man. Are you on the road? You in Glen Falls? Are you in Rochester? I know you're covering the high school action.
No, I'm watching online. I'm in Rochester watching online. We got I needed a few of my Monroe County, Rochester City schools to win, and I would have been up there. But I guess we don't sell enough papers for me to go out there and to cover the schools that's up there. But the guys that's up there are looking good.
Yes, and can you tell us a little bit about the I see the Wayne team with the gentleman Blankenberg. Man, he's really that Cam Blankenberg seems to be really leading the Wayne team, and they now in the state finals for the first time ever. What's going on with that squad?
Yeah, this Cam kid is the real deal. He's just as good as anybody I've seen in Section 5. He's only a sophomore, 6'5" point guard. He's gonna be really good in a few years. They got
Wow.
They played Friends Academy yesterday, and he had a slow start. He only had 4 points at halftime. They had a senior, PJ Ostrowski, that led them in points with 13 in the first half, and then Cam in the second half just went off. He had 26 points, 30 for the whole game. They just start running screens for him, and he's so tall. They had a taller guy guarding him in the first half. They was able to get him off in the second half, and he was able to shoot over shorter defenders, and his jumper was just money, man. He was on fire. This kid is really good. He's a good passer too. They got a few guys with length that can play in that zone defense. These guys look really impressive. But it's a two-man show over there with Cam and PJ. But when it comes down to it, Cam is hitting all the big shots, and that kid he's legit, man. He scored 30 in regionals last week and scored 30 again yesterday, and they play in the state championship game today at 5:00.
Wow. Because when you saw him against, I believe that was East at the Blue Cross Arena, when he in their second half, it's like they go in spurts where it's an even game with their opponents, and their opponents maybe have their little slight advantage. But boy, when Cam really takes over that point guard and really makes up his mind and he doesn't shoot all the time. He gets it to his teammates, but they get it back to him. And man, he's really you can kind of tell he kind of just says, "Hey man, it's time for me to take over," and he just knows when to take over. He drives to the hole. He dished one dish to a guy, and the guy dunked on his teammate dunked on the opponent yesterday. I was like, wow. I said, man, Wayne was really Wayne looked like they were having their way with that opponent. Yes, and that was a 10:45 start yesterday morning too. So they had their legs early in the morning, and it didn't look like they had it the first half, but they really in that second half, and they really dominated. So congratulations to Wayne for making it to the championship. We hope they win later today. Any surprises? Anything else? Surprises coming out of the sectional Final Fours?
Well, Lions, they played late last night in the
Mhm.
Class C. They lost to Moravia by 11 points. They got this kid. They got a big kid, sophomore, 6'6", J.J. Johnson. He's unguardable, damn near. And
Yeah.
but he got into foul trouble yesterday, second quarter. I think he had about 8 points in the second quarter when he first got into foul trouble. It was a pretty even game then, but every time he went to the bench, Moravia went on a run. I think the stat sheet said JJ had a 19-point. He was plus 19 when he was on the court.
Wow.
So when he was off, it was a big difference, and it showed. He finished with 13 points and 8 rebounds in 14 minutes. He didn't even play half the game, and that's the only time. I'm not sure how often he gets into foul trouble. That's the first time I've seen him get into foul trouble.
Mhm.
And then their senior point guard, apparently he got hurt in sectionals, and he barely played the regional final when I seen him last week. But he got hurt again yesterday, and there's a lot of turnovers and stuff when he wasn't in the game. It was a big difference when he is off the court too. But the big difference was Moravia. J.J. Johnson, Moravia had 4 guys collapsing on him when he was in the game. And they basically dared Lions to shoot from the 3, and they couldn't do it. They shot 3 for 21 from 3-point range last night. So every time JJ got the ball, they didn't care who was at the guard in the 3-point line. They all collapsed. They dared Lions to shoot, and they just couldn't do it.
That's good coaching strategy by Moravia. They found a chink in the armor there of Lions, and they said, hey, they covered, like you said, they covered. They wanted somebody else to beat them other than the big man, and that big man, he's huge too, man. So he looked like he has good stamina too. He was out there running up and down, making plays. Yes, indeed. And one thing that really I was impressed with, and this was the girls' side of it, the Aquinas girls. Man, they're very young. They're like freshmen and sophomore girls out there playing in the semifinals, and they did lose in their game yesterday. But man, that team bodes well for the future. If they can get a girl a little bit with some height in the middle, get them a true center, man, they could be almost unstoppable the next 2 to 3 seasons over there. So the future bodes well for Aquinas girls. Don't you think on that one, Mark?
Yeah, we got 3 reporters over here. We all split our sports, and I don't really pay attention to what the other guys are covering.
Oh, you don't?
I knew Aquinas girls were good. I didn't realize they were that young until yesterday when I read the story. So that's pretty dope to see that they've come this far with that young of a group. But I can't speak too much about them, because I don't follow them as much. But I know they do got a couple girls over there. I followed Molly O'Toole she was a good soccer player, won a section championship in soccer. And I know she got a jumper in basketball. I know she's one of the young girls over there. So it's cool to see them do their thing like that. I didn't realize they're that young until 12 hours ago.
Hey, and we're going to have you back on talking to spring sports coming up, and also wrapping up on Wayne. We look forward to your articles in the Democrat Chronicle newspaper and also online. They can follow you on Twitter at Marquell Sports. So, hey, thank you for taking time. I know you're up early this morning. You got covered to follow up with the championship games coming up later today. Thank you, Marquell Slaughter, for coming on Real Deal Sports Show.
Yes, sir. I'll see you soon, man. Take care.
You too. Take care. And as we wrap up the show, BacSpin are coming back in with us to wrap up the show today with BacSpin. We definitely have the Challenger Community News, the largest weekly African-American newspaper. And we also dedicate the show to the Queen Mother, Iris Bannister, who made her transition earlier this week. You can read the full article in Challenger Community News, also about Rodney A. Young retiring from the United Way of Rochester. The fine man did a lot of great activities and things of that nature as well. So as we wrap up the show, we want to thank everybody for coming in. And I want to thank BacSpin as well for our fine engineer, BacSpin. If you're there, BacSpin.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There we go. As we wrap up the show, I just mentioned about the Queen Mother, Iris Bannister, passing, and people reading about that in this week's Challenger Community News as well. And I know you got a busy schedule going today. I see you doing your DJing thing as well. Tonight is today, and get ready to have your favorite show coming up next.
Definitely, the Bag of Time Mix Show is on deck. Yeah, we got a lot going on today. Rocky B's birthday bash is going down tonight at Water Street Music Hall. Reggae Jamaican sensation. He goes by the name of Egyptian. He will be performing live tonight at the Water Street Music Hall for Rocky B's birthday bash. Also, I'll be DJing at Turntable Rock tonight, playing nothing but classic hip hop and R&B for, you know, grown folks, you know what I'm saying? Like-minded
right.
Grown folks who's out to have a good time and get their boogie on without any craziness that, you know, the city is sometimes plagued with. But
yeah, one quick question for you, BacSpin. Do you feel LeBron James hitting going over 40,000 finally proves that he's better than Michael Jordan? Oh, finally. You have to give it to him finally. Do you guys have to finally give it to this young man?
I mean, honestly, I still think Michael Jordan's the best player to ever play the game. I'm sorry. As great as LeBron James is, he's been playing for a very, very, very long time. What, over 20 years?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's had one hell of a career, and he's continuing to perform at a high level. So, you know, I can't take nothing away from LeBron James, but as far as the best player I've ever seen touch a basketball, I still have to give it to Michael Jordan. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
Like, no shade on LeBron, but I mean, no one has done what Michael has done with a basketball, and just the culture of basketball itself. You know what I'm saying? With his sneakers and you know, I want to be like Mike campaigns, and you know what I mean? Like it's if it wasn't for, you know, people say if it wasn't for Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, like those two saved the NBA. But when Michael Jordan came along, it was like not only did he save the NBA, but he propelled it to such great heights. And kids today aren't saying they want to be like LeBron James. To this day, they're still saying, I want to be like Michael Jordan. So
yeah, so that's because of that sneaker deal. His outside of the, you're right. He brought all of that came with him. So so you count the overall. I was just counting just on the court, the court per se, because he could play LeBron numbers.
Then yeah, on paper, LeBron might win that argument. But as a whole, as a cultural phenomenon, I mean, it's got to be Michael Jordan for me.
Well, when you took it to the culture, yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. Nobody's done for the for any sport really what Michael Jordan has done for the NBA. You're right, the culture, and still here he hasn't played in almost 20 years, and you still his name is synonymous with the NBA.
Might as well, exactly. He might as well be playing because his name is still just as big as it ever was. You know, you got players that fall off, great players that, you know, were great in the game, but you don't hear from them today. You don't hear their names being spoken and as much as in high regard as you hear Michael Jordan.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I'm agreement. You just swung me over on that side of it, definitely. But LeBron, 40,000 points, that nobody has never done that, and the guy still can play all five positions, and he's still playing. Oh, and he's like 39 years old, and to play 21 years, almost unheard of.
I mean, it's phenomenal what LeBron James has been able to do in his career, the longevity that he's been able to sustain. He's not one of those guys who's always hurt. He's definitely leaves it all on the court every time he plays. And, you know, that's just a testament to hard work and dedication to your craft and wanting to get better every year. So hats off to LeBron James, because I don't know if we'll ever see in our lifetime somebody beat those points that he put up.
Exactly, because you got to be durable to do some type of feat like that. So definitely. Well, you have a great week. We're going to get back to basketball NCAA action next week with the tournament. We're going to have a whole lot more talking sports of all sorts all next week. Like us, share us on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube. Like, share, hit that like, share, subscribe button. We appreciate all the new people that have subscribed within the last month or so as well. Thank you so much for subscribing, everybody. But other people who haven't done so, please do so. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir, Radman, J-GILLZ Fanatic. We're going to check back in with y'all next week for Real Deal Sports Show. Appreciate you, my brother. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.
No doubt. Keep it where you need it. Rock City on deck. It's the bag of time. Make sure with your man's BacSpin. Playing nothing but the classics that you know and love and that you grew up on. It's all on the way right here on the beat.